All right, you guys. So I'm going to talk about how important I think it is to track all of the arrows that you shoot. I'll go over how I easily track my groupings. I'm relatively new to archery, so I'm not going to pretend to be an expert, but I just want to share some of these basic things that I have found to work great for me. First, I started tracking just because I was new to archery, and when I would make changes to my bow, whether it's the windage or putting on a new sight tape, I wasn't always the most consistent at shooting, so I just wanted something to refer back to when I know I had a good day. As I started going, I realized that it was really useful to use this as a progression tool to score myself and look at how I was doing. How I track my progression is very simple. It is not groundbreaking at all. I know a lot of people that are target archers or serious, they use different apps and spreadsheets to track everything, which I think that is a great tool to use as well. But I just want something that I can easily do this on the fly. And this is just simply taking a picture while you're at the target after each grouping. I do this because if there's other people at the range you're talking to and not holding up, you don't want to pull your phone out and type in what your score is. Basically what I do is I snap a picture, I edit it, I write on it the yardage. So if it's 60 yards, I just write on it. I may make a note if it's windy or if my arm is tired. Another thing that I do is I will write with a Sharpie on the paper, so that way I don't have to edit that part. It's just always there if I'm shooting at that yardage. And then afterwards, I will just move all those pictures into a folder on my Photos app. If you have an iPhone, you can also go into the places, click on the map, and if you have a ton of pictures from your range or wherever you shoot, you can just click on that one box that has them all and then just move them all to a folder. I think it's great to track it in a baseline, kind of like a target archery, 10 rounds at 20 yards in a comfortable position in your backyard, because that just gets you a baseline. You know how you're shooting in a good environment. But I think it's also important to track and practice in hunting situations where you're stressed. Maybe you're out of breath. You're shooting at an odd angle, up or down. One thing that I do quite a bit is I do static holds, and I will track how long I will hold. I will look back and I'll see, oh, I did a minute for the first hold. I did 40 seconds for the second hold, then 30 seconds, then 20 seconds. So I do think it's good to track all the arrows you're shooting in different positions at different yardages. But I think it's a great idea to pick one consistent yardage, let's say 40 yards, and then pick a certain amount of arrows and ends that you're going to do. So let's say 10 ends with 3 arrows. And then if you do that on a consistent basis, let's say once a week, every other week, once a month, and then you track that, then you can track your points over time that you're at and your average points. Instead of just one shot one day, you can take your average of that month or that 2-month period. So here are 4 reasons why I think it's imperative to consistently track your progress. Number 1, switching gear. So I think one good example is switching releases. Let's say you switch to a hinge release or a thumb button release and you're just money at first. Like, you're just, shots are breaking great. They're all surprise shots. But then over time, you get used to that shot. And then you start having a little bit of anticipation again. But you may not realize it if you aren't tracking. But if you were tracking your shots and your scores are much better for a few weeks, then all of a sudden you get used to that release and your shot process isn't as crisp as it was just because it was something new. Then your scores go back to what they were before. Then you know that it's not the release, and you keep on buying new releases all the time, but it's mental and it's your shot process, and you need to work on that. Reason number 2, when you have a terrible day of shooting. If you have a bad day of shooting, it's easier to get over that and not beat yourself up because you know that your average scores for that month are better than your scores were 3 months ago or this time last year. Reason number 3, you can identify when your progress is getting stagnant. If you're not measuring, then you don't know if you're hitting a plateau. If you do see that your scores are getting about the same and they're not going up and you're not progressing, then you can know that you need to make an adjustment in your form or a gear change. Also, you can measure how you're doing this year at this time compared to last year at the same time. So if you're coming out of the winter break where you didn't shoot a lot, you can take a look at where you're at, let's say in February, when you're just starting to shoot again, compared to how you were last February. And you can also compare where you're at the end of the summer when you're shooting a ton, you're just about to go into the hunting season, compared to last year at the end of August when you're getting ready for September. Reason 4, you have a direct correlation when you make a form change. So typically when you change your form in some way, your points or how you're shooting are going to go down. But if you stick with it, you're going to get back and you're going to get better than how you were shooting. It's easy to get discouraged and switch back because you know you're not shooting as well. But if you keep going at it and then you see your points get up there and get better to where they were before, then you know that it was a great change to make. Another reason to track all of your scores, so you can pull that one arrow out that was that flyer and then post it to Instagram so you can show everyone how an awesome archer you are. But don't share all the shitty pictures of the terrible groupings that you have. But that's probably the best reason to track all your progress. I'm not the sharpest crayon in the shed, but if you like this content, hit subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.